Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo doo.
Welcome to another episode of the Welch Review. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
Good to be back. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, man. Today we're talking about Fear Street, 1666, which I'm like 99% sure is the last installment of Fear Street.
Ooh. Well, that we know of.
That we know of.
That
so
we know
far.
of. So far, right? Completes this trilogy at least.
Yeah.
And in it, you have a lot of the same people from the first two, right? So I'm going to, of course, list who they are, but you should recognize them if you've been following our videos. There are, however, a couple cats who are new to this entry, but not necessarily new to Netflix. Like we said, or Sam said, I think a while back, you know, Netflix is doing a lot, like a mature Disney, where they're plucking people from different things. They're like, yeah, you go in this now.
Yeah.
So in this, you have Kiana Madeira as Sarah Freer and Dina.
Sarah Freer.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's cool to see she's back again in this trilogy. You got Elizabeth Scope as the real Sarah Freer, right? So the original OG witch, and we'll get into that a little bit when we talk more. You have Benjamin Flores as Henry and Josh, right, the younger brother. Then, like, a new person to this trilogy is Randy Havens. And Randy Havens plays George Freer, and you might recognize Randy Havens from Stranger Things, as he plays the science teacher for the kids. And he was also in Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Wait, he's the science teacher?
From Stranger Things,
He doesn't look like a skinny twig boy in this.
No, he put on some muscle.
Yeah.
Or some fat. Either way,
Good for him.
yeah, he's doing something with that sack of skin called the body. But it's excellent seeing Randy doing stuff. It's like, yeah, man, you're doing things.
Get it, Randy.
You know? Then you have Julia Rewald as Lizzie. Also Kate. She's been in the previous two. Matthew Zuck as Elijah Good and Mayor Will Good. He was in the Fear Street 1994 as the mayor. Fred Hetchinger as Isaac and Simon, right? He was from the first one. He played the friend who was selling drugs. Then another new one, right, is Michael Chandler. He played Pastor Cyrus Miller, and he was in the TV show Amazing Stories, I think, over at Apple. The show SWAT, that, like, the new SWAT, not the movie or the show from the 70s, but the reboot they're doing.
Yeah.
And then the short-lived X-Men-esque show called The Gifted, which dealt with finding mutants. Then you have Jillian Jacobs playing adult Ziggy again. Ashley Zuckerman as Solomon and Sheriff Nick Good. Right,
Yeah.
so he was in the previous two. McCabe Sly as Mad Thomas and Tommy Slater.
Gotta love Mad Thomas.
Mad Tommy. Tommy's mad. All right, so then another new one is Lacey Camp. She plays Grace Miller and Miss Fraser, so Sarah's mom.
Oh, yeah, she
but
sucks.
She was in the first one briefly, and so I apologize for not listing that. But you might recognize her from Big Little Lies, Vice Principals.
That's good shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was in the short-lived Red Band Society, but she was also in, very briefly, the Fear Street 1994, so she has a bit of a bigger role in this. And then you have Olivia Scott Welch as Hannah Miller / Samantha Fraser, right? Sadie Sink as Constance in Ziggy Berman. Emily Rudd as Abigail.
Did you say... What was that Welch girl's first name?
Olivia Scott Welch.
Okay. I thought that her name was Samantha Welch for a second. I was like, she's me as a woman!
That'd be wild.
Keep going.
And then it was written by Phil Graziade, Leigh Janak, and the new person to it is Kate Treffery, and she was a writer on Stranger Things, and she was crew on the film Drive with Ryan Gosling. And then, of course, this is based on the short stories by R.L. Stein, and it's directed, once again, completing her trilogy, is Leigh Janak.
Yeah, man. So, 1966. It is...
The Year of the Devil.
Yeah, there's 3 6s in there. I'm not sure if you know how to count, but there's a 6, 6, and a 6.
36.
Which is... No. That would be 24.
Oh.
You're bad at math.
That's real bad.
That's okay. Anyways, yeah, Fear Street, 1666. We start off in a more modern day time in the 90s. where our hero's like, yo, I know where Sarah Frere's body is. I'm gonna go bring her hand back. So she brings her hand back, and when she does, she gets teleported into the past. But not really. It's like a flashback.
But not really.
Except she's alive during said, she's like in the flashback. And in this flashback, she is playing out the role of Sarah Frere. So, not Sarah Frere.
Sarah Freer.
Yeah, that's right.
She gets
Sarah.
Days of Futures Past into that role.
Yeah. So she's just Sarah Frere, and she's like helping birth some pigs or some stuff, right? And her dad's like, "Wow, you have a knack for life," which is the exact opposite of what everybody else says for the next 300 years. So we got Sarah. And she walks around, talks to some of her younger homies who you will recognize as actors who had been in previous roles, right? So like the girl who plays Sam, the girl who plays her two best friends, the drug dealers, they're both there, and she's like, hey, you going to the party tonight? And they're like, yeah, we're going to the party tonight. And then one of her other friends is like, hey, do you want to go get some shrooms from a witch in the woods? And she's like, I would rather like that, yes. Because it's, the 1666 is...
Yeah, the hippie movement.
Yeah. The famous psychedelic movement of 1666 is where it all starts. Anyways, they see this witch lady. She's actually a widow who apparently hung out with some Native Americans who taught her how to be a healer and a witch. And also... what else? She has the Book of the Devil, which she keeps in a box and she doesn't touch. But our main lady, who is now being Sarah Frere, is like, hey, what's up with this book? It's kind of weird. And then the lady tweaks out on them and is like, get out of this hut! But they get the drugs anyway, so it's all good. They go to the party. They take some shrooms. She winds up getting jiggy with her friend Sarah, not Sarah, the girl who plays Sam. I don't remember what her name is in this.
Olivia Scott Welch.
No. Yeah, but
when she's back in time,
past,
when she's Days in Future Past,
Hannah. So she starts getting jiggy with Hannah. Hannah is the daughter of the priest in town, not the priest, the pastor in town, because they're not Catholic, so they don't have
they're not Catholic.
Right, and if you're a priest, you probably don't have a daughter. That's not how that works.
Yeah, that's very frowned upon.
So she goes, bleh. So they're getting jiggy with it, and then in the background they see somebody, and they're like, yo, somebody watching us? And they run away because they're like, we're Puritans in 1666. Like, we'll get killed for being lesbians. Like, this ain't good. We'll get hung. So they run back to town. This other dude who's a creeper who basically lives in an outhouse watches them like kiss through some walls, and then the next day everything starts to go to shit, right? So I told you that they help like birth some pigs, like when the flashback started. Well, the mother pig decided to eat all the baby pigs. Sarah's dog gets murdered in a well. Hannah's father,
Michael
who is the pastor, is now possessed. Right now he's just being weird, but he's possessed.
He kills like a bunch of kids.
Shut up, man.
Oh, my bad.
We're not that far in the plot yet.
I got you jumping.
Alright, so nothing's going... Horses are angry. Alright?
That's not normal.
That's not good. So a whole bunch of stuff is negative. And then, out of, like, left field shows up that dude, what's his... Mr. Good? Solomon Good. Solomon Good, who is, like... kind of Sarah's love interest, right? Who's a guy, or at least everybody thinks they are, but really it's Hannah. But Solomon totally likes Sarah. But Sarah likes Hannah, love triangle. Boom. Anyways, confirmed. So, I don't know, he's like talking to her. She's like, oh, I brought this on everybody because I was a lesbian. And then this guy's like, nah, you didn't welcome the devil. You have to do that consciously. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, which she didn't do. So, 5 seconds later, you hear that the pastor has all of the kids in the church, and he's locked them in there, right? And he's locked in there with them. So, Solomon and some other guys go and bust down the door, and the possessed pastor has murdered and cut out the eyes of all of the children. which is a bad time. And then he tries to kill Sarah, so Solomon murders the pastor with like a gardening hoe.
A sickle?
No, it's a hoe.
Oh.
He stabs him with a wooden hoe.
Damn.
Yeah. The hoes, they get you, man. Anyways. Then, of course, they go into, like, Salem witch trial mode, right? They're like, hey, who's brought on all of this devilly stuff? And they're like, well, I saw these two people in the woods being lesbians. It's probably them. So Sarah and Hannah are, like, the prime suspects. Hannah gets snagged. Sarah runs away into the woods. She tries to go to that witch's hut. Because she's like, if they think I'm a witch, I'll be a witch. Like, you know, I'm going to get vengeance. I'm going to save Hannah. We're going to get out of here. It's going to be all good. That doesn't happen. The book's already gone and the witch is dead. Witch, old witch, the wicked witch. Never mind.
Wicked Witch is the witch.
Yeah. Wicked witch is dead.
Dorothy, the only one plagued by a witch.
That's right. But she's freaked out, right? Because she needs that book that's not there so she can commune with the devil. And she probably would have needed the help of the witch, and the witch is also dead. So she's like, you know, how could this have happened? So she goes to see her homie Solomon while she's being hunted by the townsfolk. And Solomon hides her, right? Like, he's kind of protecting her. And she stumbles her way down into his basement where she finds the book, a pool of blood, and some names written on a wall, namely the pastor who is, you know, just went crazy and started murdering people. And she's like, oh snap, it's Solomon. That's the guy who brought the devil down upon us, right? That's the guy who's like doing all the evil witchcraft stuff.
Man wizard.
A man wizard, yeah. So instead of her cutting off her hand, Solomon does most of the hand chopping offery. And then they hang Sarah, and then this is where it gets into like a lot of the meat and potatoes of the story, because it takes us out of that view, and you realize that Sarah was never the bad guy, right? It's always been the good family that's been the bad guys, and they've been sacrificing people from Shadyside to ensure that their lineage will always be prosperous and important. Through work with the devil, right? So they've been sacrificing Shadysiders to help themselves. And now our heroes, right, in the modern time, in 19 whatever.
Josh and Dina.
Yeah, Josh and Dina, and then also that Ziggy.
Ziggy.
They have to take down, you know, the law. Right?
Law. Sheriff, not so good.
Yeah. Sheriff, not so good, yes. So they have to take down Sheriff Good, and that's where I'm going to leave it, because that's most of the 1666, and then it actually, in the movie, it says, Fear Street, 1994, Part 2. So we're not going to go over that part. But, yeah, that's a quick synopsis of the film, maybe not so quick, and leaving a little bit in there for you to discover on your own.
Yeah, just enough to be like intrigue you, but
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, in this film, Mr. Welch, my brother, is there any actors that you really like enjoyed? Any standouts?
I think so. Like as far as actors go, I think Martin, the guy who played the janitor of the mall. His name is Daryl Britt Gibson.
Oh, yeah.
And I am deeply sorry, Mr. Gibson, that I did not mention you in the original lineup for the first two and this one. But yeah, Daryl Britt Gibson, I think, you know, did a really good job as Martin. And it was nice seeing that role pay off in the long run. Like, you know, I thought it was just like a throwaway character, and then he, you know, took it, ran with it, made it his own, and he ends up becoming like really important in this one. So I enjoyed the humor he brought. I enjoyed his determination and the fact that like he knew more about how like Sheriff Good operated than like the kids did or suspected.
Yeah. So that character that he's talking about, right? He's a janitor at the mall when the first killing happened, and not the first killing, but the first movie, right? The first killing that we see
in the film
happens. and he is routinely getting arrested for tagging buildings, even though he's not the one tagging the buildings.
Yeah.
And he says it throughout the entire film. And at the end of the first film, Kate, that's her name, right?
No, the brother Josh.
Yeah, Kate's younger brother Josh. is what I was
Dina's
trying to
younger
say.
brother.
Dina's younger brother Josh.
Yeah.
Thank you. He like slips him like a bobby pin to help him get out of
The cuffs.
get out of some handcuffs. And the guy gives him a card, and he's like, "If you ever need anything, I got you." So when they decide they're going to take down Mayor Good, they're like, they go to look for help, like allies, right? And the first place that they go is to his house, and they're like, "Hey, you want to help us murder Sheriff Good?" And he's like, "Let me get my coat."
Yeah, it's just, but like even from there, like he just does a good job, right? He really built that character from the ground up, and I'd love to see like more of him, right? Like if Netflix is gonna start doing more Fear Street stuff, I hope he is a character that they call back to, you know, to help expand that world.
Yeah,
like
so
I could see
unless
him,
he's dead.
possible. It's possible. Like I'd like to see him like fight vampires or like zombies or some other type of monster.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Like his card said entrepreneur. You know, it listed a whole bunch of things, right?
I didn't
like
see what
vague
it said,
things.
but that's cool.
You know, so I think he's someone that could come into like the Frog Brothers from Lost Boys.
Yeah.
He is that kind of character. Other people
Yeah,
I
he's
thought
pretty
did a
cool.
really good job in this one. I think Kiana Madeira, Dina, right?
Yeah.
I think she did a very good job.
No, that's nice because originally you didn't really like her.
Well, I thought she was really like angsty. Well, I shouldn't say angsty, but like she just seemed dramatic. But like you said, the things she's dealing with are dramatic. It just seemed like here's the box for performance. Like, hey, do what the realm of this, and you'll be okay. And then she just like imploded it, and it's like that's just too much, right,
Yeah.
for me. But it seems like, you know, she's grown with the character, right? Like she's had a
Yeah.
full.
She's had 3 movies to develop it.
Yeah, she's had more to develop it, but I thought she did a really good job. I think the guy who plays Sheriff Good, I liked him more when he played Solomon. Like, I thought he did a better
Solomon.
job playing Solomon than he did playing the sheriff.
Yes, I agree, but I also think that the sheriff character is kind of just bland,
Yeah.
boring,
Yep.
and Solomon has, like, because, okay, Sheriff Good's whole job is, like, to continue to pretend like he's not evil,
Right.
right? Like, oh, I'm just a good sheriff. Look at me go.
Here
Whereas,
we go.
yeah, whereas Solomon's like, hey, my life sucks, my wife got murdered, my daughter's dead, I'm hitting on what's probably like a 17-year-old girl, and I'm communing with the devil.
So he's way more interesting, I got you.
He's just got like a lot more going on rather than just being like the golden boy of like Long Meadow, you know? You know what I mean?
I'm not surprised if someone over there has like a witch thing in the basement.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
there. It's
Yeah.
absolutely there. There's a cult there.
Like, I'm also
But, yeah.
kind of convinced that this movie takes place in Massachusetts.
I could see that, absolutely, yeah.
You got the witch trials.
Yeah,
You got Puritans.
yeah.
You got fall.
You got foliage. Yeah, man, I totally see
Massachusetts.
that. Yeah, hands down. R.L.
Yep.
Stein, let us know. We think Shadyside and Sunnyvale. Is it Sunnyvale?
Yeah,
That's
Sunnyvale.
I think our Massachusetts. Holyoke, Hadley, Springfield, Lock Meadow. You know,
So on and so forth.
so on and so forth. But what about you? So that's who I thought did a really good job. Was there anyone that stood out to you, or kind of the same?
I'd say a lot of the same. I thought that a lot of the performances in this film were pretty strong, right? Like, it is a horror movie, so it's not exactly going to be like, oh, check out this amazing
Right,
acting.
yeah.
But the acting was good. It wasn't like, none of this movie felt like overly campy, right? Like, it didn't feel like it was ridiculous for the point of being ridiculous. It felt like it was just solid the whole way through. I don't know if anybody was like far and away the best in my opinion, but I liked everybody who was in it. And that's not something that I can say for like most movies I've ever seen. So yeah, you get a solid A-. Like,
Now, when you talk about like horror movies, right? And I think maybe this is a problem. Well, I'm interested in your thought on it. In most cases with sequels, right? It just seems like it's more of the same. Like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a thing, it's killing us, we gotta stop it or survive, and then they do that, and then somehow it comes back in the second one, and either they have some of the same cast back or not. This one, and mind you, this is like you said, the third one in a trilogy. It seems they did it a bit more like how like Marvel franchise films are being done, where it's like so they tell a story to a point.
I'm listening.
And then they leave a breadcrumb to tag the second one, right? So it's like in Star Wars, nothing is fully complete until you see like the very end, right? So they tell just as much of a story to keep it interesting, to give you a sense of like, oh, cool, but there's more, right? So like it ends actually with the third one instead of just the second one being like the same thing on repeat.
I see what you're saying. I don't think that any of those movies actually do what you're saying, though. Because, like, all of them are contained stories, right? Like, Star Wars is... Episode 4 could happen, and there could be nothing afterwards. And as far as you know, that's the end of Star Wars. They won. They blew up the Death Star. That was their goal. Or, like, you know, like... There's... Yeah, most of these are contained stories where they have goals that they achieve. This movie isn't a contained story where they have goals that they achieve, right? Like, the first one, they kill their friend so that she'll stop being hunted, but that doesn't actually fix anything, right? Like, sure, she's not hunting anybody now, not being hunted anymore, but she's now one of the ones who's hunting, and it's, like, immediate. Right? Like, their problems haven't gone away.
Yeah.
And they still have the same issue, and it's the Sarah Fair. Right? And then they realize, hey, it was never Sarah Fair. She's trying to tell us how to win. What it actually is this other guy. So I think... I agree with what you're saying. But, basically, they, I think, do a good job, like, seamlessly integrating... the story, and it feels like one big Scooby-Doo mystery rather than a continuation of a previous story, right?
Yeah.
They're always trying to find like the end of this one tunnel. They haven't gotten through any tunnel yet. They're just trying to figure out where it leads. I had one other thing to say, and I think that this movie in particular, because I do think, you're right, even in this situation, it could become repetitive. What I think that they do well in this is that they develop different ways to use, like, the tools available or the story assets that they have available in new and unique ways. Like, for example, in the first movie, they used... Sam's blood to direct the monsters into traps. Well, in this movie they do that as well, but then they also use Sam's blood to make the bad guys the traps, and to make the bad guys fight themselves, which is a new and creative spin on something that's pre-established, something that you already know, except they're just doing it
in a new way.
In a new and exciting way. Yeah. Maybe not exciting, but a new and cool way.
Yeah, it's not played out. No, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. So, no, I agree, right? Yeah. Perhaps Star Wars is a bad example, but yeah, you get what I'm going for. So I think as far as, like, it's nice seeing horror movies taking themselves seriously, like not so much like camp. Like it's going to be a fun ride. It's going to be a serious ride. There are stakes. It's not just like, oh, you automatically survive. You know, like there are real stakes in it. I know, well, you guys will have to see the end of the movie, but I certainly hope this is not the last we'll see of Fear Street, or the last we'll see of R.L. Stein stuff being developed for mature audiences, because he's just scary. He's good, you know, he's scary. Not he himself, but his work is scary, and it clearly...
If adapted correctly.
Yeah, if adapted correctly, you know, so I hope Lee... Janek, my apology if I mispronounced the name, but I hope you keep doing what you're doing. Netflix, you're on a roll. Any other closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's a really solid film. I suggest watching all three of them. Netflix designed stuff to be marathoned, and this is like literally the perfect marathon series because everything flows so well.
Yeah,
right.
And like, all three of them are out, so you can go.
It's like the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Right. Lord of the Rings, the goal is to destroy the ring. This definitely not as exciting or as influential, but as far as horror movies go, it has one contained goal throughout the entire plot. And it's really good and you should watch it.
Lord of the Rings of horror films.
Yep, check it out.
This has been the Welch Review.
See you next time later, something like that.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
bye.